Hello everybody, Reggie Time here with another episode of the Poker is Boring series. It's going to be a bit of a hybrid of the Poker is Boring with the video reviews on Skype that I did a couple of weeks back, and in this video I played a session kind of sticking to the trying to play pretty tight, pretty solid mantra that we've had in the first two videos of the Poker is Boring, but combining it with playing softer tables on Skype, because in the last video I was kind of complaining about the game quality on Unibet when I was making the videos in the morning, and saying how interesting it might, or how much better it might be if we were demonstrating the style against some fishier opponents too, with good game selection. So last night I logged into Sky and I found a ton of good games, hardly any regulars around, and it felt like a good time to try and capture some play in this under the conditions that I said would be nice to play under with this style. So here we go. The video is about 2 hours long. We're certainly not going to review it all here. We're going to make the video last about an hour. I'm not sure how much we'll get through. We might get 2 more episodes out of this because it was quite a fun session. There was some fun spots. We made some money. We also got in a couple of tough spots towards the end when I started getting tired. So yeah, overall I think it's going to have some quite good content, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So we'll go ahead and play the video, and we'll be pausing when it comes to some interesting spots. Let's see if we can play it back just a little bit faster. That's better. If you do see anything that I don't comment on during the video that you're interested in, please just timestamp it and I'll be more than happy to talk through any decisions I made that I didn't explain very well. So this is the first one. This happens a lot on Sky. I really don't get it. Some of the, and I don't know Restart, he's tagged as a regular, I don't know anything about him, but there's a bunch of regulars on Sky. There's maybe 4 or 5 of them that I don't think play particularly well. They're probably winning players because Sky's so soft, but I don't think they play particularly well. And they have like this 4x open that they don't consistently use, and I haven't figured out yet what the hell they're 4xing with, because sometimes he folds, sometimes he don't. I've no idea. I don't know if it's just random times that they're doing it. I don't know if it's because there's fish at the table. They do it when there's fish. They don't do it when there's no fish. I haven't figured it out yet, but I just know it's not good. So anyway, this guy 4x's, and quite often when there's fishes to act behind in the pot, like there is here with Gazbat, who's in the small blind, I will just call with pocket kings. If it's 3x, there's a good chance I might just have called. Gazbat could come along then. Maybe it would induce a 3-bet from my friend Will in the big blind with JT Diamond. Who knows? So quite often I would flat here, but we talked about in the last video flatting with big pairs, or flatting with most of our range versus opens when there's fish to act behind. We don't want to be blowing fish out of the pot very often. If we 3-bet here, if Gazbat has a hand like say Ace-5 suited or Queen Jack suited or pocket 4s or something, if we call, he's going to call. We're going to get to play some post-flop poker with him with a strong, well-disguised hand. Whereas if we 3-bet, we get him to fold most of the stuff we want him to stay in the pot with. So usually I would think about calling here, but because this restarts 4x'd it, and I kind of was thinking, well, maybe that means he's a bit stronger, maybe it means he's at the top of his range, I elected to go for the 3-bet, but quite often I would just call here, and I think that would be a fine play. Well, I think I'd go for the 3-bet this time. We made the 3-bet. Fortunately, we did get Gazbat to come along still, which is a fine result, and we got a really good flop. So based on what we think Gazbat's range is, which is going to be pocket pairs, broadways, who knows what. He's a green tag player. He might even have some suited connectors in his range here. I doubt it. I think his range is going to be kind of distilled down to Ace-X hands, pocket pairs, and maybe some reasonable suited broadways, although we block a lot of them with having 2 kings. I think that's his range, what his range is going to look like. On this dry board here, I'm willing to play for stacks against Gazbat. We can just move it on slightly. Yeah, it stacks £10. We've got an SPR of less than 2. So I think I'd just like to see him as a bet small here and shove the turn. I don't remember what happens. But look at this bet size, and I'm big into 1/3 to 40, well, 25% to 40% C bet size at the minute. I'm quite big on that, with a view to like being able to barrel lots more turns and what have you, and overbet some rivers. It's kind of my strategy at the moment, is like smaller bets on the early streets, and then looking to usually polarise myself on the river by using so much bigger sizes. That's kind of how I'm going about things at the moment. So I'd like to see myself bet here for 5/8 in the pot, anything from 150 up to maybe 250, something like that. I'd like to see myself do, because it doesn't prevent us from just shoving the turn. If we bet 150 here, he calls, that's going to put nearly 9 in the pot. He's going to have whatever, just under 9 left. So that's what I'd like to see myself do here. 240, completely fine, and then it just folds, whatever. You're not going to see me getting too out of line in this video. There's a hand that's probably going to end up coming up in the second video that I wasn't particularly pleased with. But yeah, most of the video is just going to be me sticking to the principles that we've adopted in the early videos, which is like not opening silly hands, not stealing too wide, not defending wide versus 3 bets, all that type of thing. Just trying to play super tight, super solid poker, and demonstrating that we can just still print money doing it. And I think this is a good video, a good example of that. So we're down on, well, I think we'll rewind back here to look at this 5-4, because it looks like the pot's getting on the slightly bigger side. Have I gone forwards or backwards there? I don't even fucking know. Let's go back just to be sure. Yeah, we went forwards. So we get the flop here on the 5-4 on table 4. We've got a pair and a gut shot in a limped pot blind versus blind. Okay, so our opponent min bets, and I elected to raise, it looks like, given how big the pot was, and I think I like the raise. We can have the best hand for sure. If we don't have the best hand, then we've got an okayish draw. And it's just min bet. It could be anything. He might just have like ace-4 offsuit here. He might just have 2 high cards. He might have an 8 or a 6, of course. Who knows? But we have a pair. We have a good shot. It's just min bet. I'd like to have the initiative at this point. So yeah, I hovered over the call and I decided to raise, and I'm happy that I decided to raise. I think it's a much better play. On the turn, we now pick up the double gut shot from this, a single gut shot. So the 2 isn't a great card in terms of like picking up fold equity. We're going to just like bet called the flop. And don't expect him to have super strong hand. He's going to have just 1 pair most of the time, or draws, or just some random nonsense. So you could just have like something like 10-9 here and just bet call the flop. So although I don't necessarily think we've got the best hand, I certainly think we can still win this pot with aggression. So again, I make a pretty small bet on the turn, because we're not trying to make him fold an 8, we're not trying to make him fold a 6, we're not trying to make him fold a 5. At this point, we're just trying to get either some very thin value from draws, or just have him fold equity. So I'm fine with it. I think this bet serves both purposes. If he does have like a weak spade draw, we get value for it. We get value from it. If he does have a hand like 10-9, we just get him to fold his equity share, which isn't great at this point. He's got like 2 overs and a gut shot, so that's going to be what, about 20% equity. But still, having him fold that, if he's just going to check down with it, is fine. So I think this bet size is fine with a view to probably blasting the river. If he calls again, the river's a brick, say the queen of clubs or something, and just absolutely blitzing the river, and then trying to make him fold an actual 1 pair type hand. As it happens, he just folds, and obviously it's a good outcome. We move on. As you can see, these games were really, really good last night. My tagging system, just so you know, and we'll pause while we do this King Jack. My tagging system is: green is recreational player, fish, call them what you will. Red is regular. Orange is regular, but someone who I think is probably not a good player. Just like with somebody who plays maybe multiple tables, relatively tight, but not particularly good. If we see any purples or pinks, whatever you want to call them, they're players that I feel are on the bad aggressive side. And if we see any light blues, that's like your uberfish. So we had the King Jack here. Looks like it limped and we put a raise in. On this board again, it's dry, it's not that well connected. I'd hope to see myself make a c-bet of the around 60 cents with a view to barrel in turns that are tens, kings, aces, maybe jacks too. So I'd like to see myself c-bet here. I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't, but I'd be quite happy to see myself make like a 60p c-bet and then take it from there. And we went for the check, which I don't have a major issue with. We haven't got that much going on. But Gazbat did just like check fold last time too, is in a 3-bet pot. So I'd like to see myself c-bet, but I don't think it's a big deal. I definitely think we need to bet this turn though. And we do, and Gazbat just snap folds. Which again is obviously a fine result with just king high. Nine, 10 suited, not a good flop at all. I have been c-betting with a lot higher frequency using lower sizes. I don't think this is a particularly good time to do it though on this board texture with this hand. I'm completely fine just giving up here. Hopefully that's what I do. And yeah, nothing much else we can do there. No problem with that whatsoever. So we have the, looks like we might have two hands going at once here. We have the Jack 9 suited down on table 3, and we have some action with the King 10. We'll tackle them as and when the decision points come up, when whichever table beats whichever to the punch. So we've got a flop, a flush draw here with the Jack 9. Oh, hang on, right. No, we'll do them one at a time. We'll do the Jack 9 first. We ignore the King 10. We'll do the Jack 9 first. Then we'll go back and do the King 10. So we flop a flush draw here with the Jack 9. I think it's a pretty good spot to go for a check raise. It's not ideal because of Captain Cab's stack size. Captain Cab, by the way, amazing name. I do hope it's based on the A-Team episode of Taxi Cab Wars where Howling Mad Murdoch played Captain Cab. I'm a real A-Team fanatic and nerd. Captain Cab, if you ever watch this and if your name is based on that, then I'm going to give you a virtual high five, sir, because it's a tremendous screen name. If it isn't and you're just a cab driver, then whatever. It's a bit more boring for me, but still, good username. So yeah, I'd like to see us check raise here. Not ideal against Captain Cab's stack size, but still think we've got kind of flopped decent equity, but we don't have any made showdown value. So when I'm in those situations, when I have good equity but no showdown value, I'd usually try and semi-bluff. We could lead out here with a view to like just blitzing good turns, but I think I prefer a check raise. I didn't get the chance to check raise, which is kind of unfortunate, but now I think we just have to lead this turn. We'll go back and we'll look at the King 10 in a moment. So we just make a small stab on the turn, and now I think we can like make a large bet on this river. He's checked back the flop, he's just called the turn, and he called really quickly. Doesn't strike me as someone who's got an ace here very often. So I think this is a spot where, and I don't know if I do overbet or not, I don't remember, but I think it's a good spot to overbet, to put pressure on 10x, 5x, pocket 8s, that type of thing. You know, all these, basically all these pairs that aren't an ace. So I'd like to see myself make an overbet here. There's what, 237 in the pot. Somewhere in the 350 to £4 region. I think it's a good spot to overbet here. What do I do? Hope I go slightly more than 260. £3, completely fine with that. And we get it through. So we're happy with that. And now let's go back and look at the King 10. Don't remember the King 10 hand, so let's see what's going on. We raise, we get two callers, and we get donked into on this board. now I do remember this hand. I think I made a really weak call here. Look at this now. It's a raise. Backdoor flush draw. Oh, hang on. Maybe it's not because of his stack size. Because if we raise and he... Yeah, I'm fine with raising or calling. If he had more money, if he had like £12, I think raising's far better. Because you can't just like ship over a raise with £12. But with £7, if we were to raise here to say £2.40, he jammed. Kind of, it fucks us up a little bit. So given that he's only made it 10 pence, I'm fine with just calling here actually. First I thought raise. Raise is my first instinct, but his stack size makes me think no. I'd rather he had a bigger stack size to raise here. For us to raise. So I think calling is just fine. We would do raise anyway. We make a small raise. I'm understanding why I'm doing it. I don't know. I don't know. We had the two hands going on at once. Maybe I didn't focus on what his stack size was. Maybe I did. Maybe that's why I made the raise so small. I don't know. I think calling's fine. Raising can't be terrible, but I'd probably rather see us make a slightly bigger raise than this, but because of his stack size it's kind of awkward. But we'll see how the hand plays out. I'm not that in love with this raise because of the sizing. He's min bets eternity, and we certainly can't raise on this. And now I'd just like to see myself take my direct odds and just see a river at this point. And I do call. Best 20 pence. I remember this hand now, and I like what I did. He just doesn't rep that much strength when he does this. Like min bet, call flop, min bet turn, min bet river. It looks like some kind of like really weak pair, maybe a 9. Maybe, who knows, just some ace highs, maybe some random nonsense. I don't know, but it just doesn't. It's hard to say with these guys because he could have all sorts of nonsense in his range. Could have ace 5 and do this. Could have queen jack. Could have 9x. Could have just random air. Could have pocket pairs. Who knows? But basically, I just don't think it's that strong. And if I recall correctly, I decided just to go all in at this point because I think we're going to get enough force to make it fine. Given how he's played the hand. And it worked. So again, I was pretty pleased with that. Just because, remember, the premise of the video is we're playing, or the premise of the series is we're not playing super tight we're not playing super loose pre-flop. We're trying to keep things pretty tight pre-flop. But that doesn't mean that we're not opening the toolbox post-flop and getting out of line post-flop with our hands. We're just making sure that we're staying out of trouble with our pre-flop ranges and then looking to hopefully just play well post-flop, built on the foundations of having usually solid starting hands. That is the premise of the series, and hopefully this video demonstrates that. So on the deuce 8 board, I think it's a great spot just to make a small c-bet with some backdoor equity and pretty dry flop. We're going to get a lot of folds there, and we have backdoor equity like 2 overcards if we don't get it through. Rustler here goes for the min 3 bet and captain cap calls. We could 4-bet here for sure, but if Rustler 5-bets or jams into something, we're just like blowing ourselves off all our equity because we can't 4-bet get it in here. If we make like 4-bet to $3, £3.20 or something like that, £4 maybe even. If Rustler raises again, it puts us in a really stupid spot. I mean, we could do it for value. We could do it for like if Rustler falls and Captain Cap goes all in, then call it off. So I don't think it's terrible to 4-bet here, but given how these games play, I just don't think we need to. I think I have a much bigger advantage in these games by keeping pots small pre-flop and looking to outplay people post-flop. I think I have a much bigger edge doing that than I do by pushing thinner edges at this pre-flop. Because sure, ace-queen's probably ahead of both players' ranges here, or certainly doing well against both players' ranges. So we could push a very small edge pre-flop. But I'd rather keep pots smaller and then push less edges further post-flop. So we're going to have less edges post-flop in terms of like hitting the board, but I think my skill advantage post-flop is way greater than it is pre-flop in these spots. People play pre-flop not well, but it's their best street. Everyone's best street, or most people's best street, is pre-flop because it's the one that best practiced at. So I'm happy to just call in spots like this where other people might think, fuck it, just 4-bet and try and end the hand now or whatever. I'm happy to just call here, happy to give up when I miss, and I'm happy that I'm going to be able to outplay people enough post-flop to push like really quite a big advantage post-flop. I think I have a much bigger post-flop advantage over all these fish than I do pre-flop most of the time. So we just call, and we completely break, and I'm completely fine giving up at this point. So it does feel a little bit like we could have won that hand if we'd done something different. But it's not necessarily about winning the hand. It's about making decisions that fit my overall strategy best. And my overall strategy is get to pre-flop versus these guys and look to force them to make mistakes, more mistakes than I can force them to make pre-flop. So this one didn't work out. Really not asked. Why did we call there? What was the bet size? I think we called just some pure pot odds thing, didn't we? Because he think he bet like £1 or something, didn't he? So we were getting really good odds. Yeah, so when he bets £1, we might still have the best hand here. We just can't fold. We could contemplate raising, but again, not sure raising accomplishes very much. Happy just to call, no problem with that. Turn jack, check. And now it's a matter of, do I want to bet this river to make him maybe fold ace king, to maybe make him fold how my pocket sixes or pocket sevens, or do I just want to check and take my showdown value? And I think we have enough. Do we have enough showdown value? Maybe we don't have enough showdown value here to just like purely check down. At the same time, do we have fold equity against pocket 8 if I just bet here? I guess if I overbet, we could maybe get medium pocket pairs to fold, ace king to fold, that type of thing. But I'm happy just checking down here and taking what little showdown value I have. Who knows, maybe a bet. I didn't bet, which is fine. He pots it, we fold, no problem. Here against SR23, we 3-bet with the ace king versus button open. We do have a fish in the big blind, so we could call, but we're going to be out of position post-flop against someone whose game I think is pretty decent. So I'm happy just to 3-bet this pre-flop, either take it down now or play a bloated pot with the initiative. So I'm happy with the 3-bet here. It's not really in line with what we're doing. We're not going to be doing an awful lot of 3-betting in this video, but I think it's fine in this exact spot against a regular. And he just folds, and again, it's a fine result pre-flop with ace king. I'm not one of these guys who's like fist pump getting ace king in pre. I'll do it if I have to, but I'd much rather not have to. I just need to sneeze. Hang on a minute. I'm going to pause the video while I get a sneeze out of the way. Is that back on now? Yep. Sure is, Reggie. So the king 9 suit there, you could see I was like lining up, should I 3-bet here, should I fold? Given Gazbat's stack size in the big blind, and given that because it's 4x, it makes us have to make a larger 3-bet than necessary, and given that we are playing boring poker, I elected to not 3-bet. I think we could definitely 3-bet a hand like king 9 suited versus the button open. Don't really want to be doing it versus the 4x button open very often, and given the premise of this video series, we don't want to be doing it either. Jesus, got a sneeze again. Hang on, sorry guys. I got absolutely stalked at work last night, and I spent about 5 hours in in wet socks, and I don't think it's helped. I woke up this morning, I was not feeling 100%, definitely feeling just a little bit like I got some kind of cold ensuing, which is a bit of a pisser. We've got caught up in the storms. There were some storms in the UK over the last couple of days, and it finally hit my neck of the woods yesterday, and boy, did it hit. Only for about half an hour, but when it hit, and I got utterly drenched. Well, never mind. Anyways, here we are with the Ace 3 suited, so let's get back to business. So we've raised pre-flop with Ace 3 suited. We've fired out a 25% C-bet on this board, which, again, it fits the strategy that I'm currently employing, which is lots of small probe C-bets and turn barrels, then making a decision on the river whether to continue with the bluff and making a large bluff or making a large value bet, etc. This is, I guess I better explain this strategy just a little bit, because we're using it a lot more in this video than we have in the previous two. I got an email from Upswing a couple of weeks ago. It was linked to an article by Matthew Jander about like betting small on like early streets, trying to get people to cap the ranges, and then deciding what to do on the river, whether to go for the big overbet bluff, whether to go for the big overbet for value, or sometimes just making a smaller bet for value. It's kind of, he openly admits in the video, it's in the article, it's kind of like betting for information almost, but we're actually going to do something tangible with the information. Like in the past, people say, oh, we shouldn't bet for information. We should bet for more than just information. Because it used to be, oh, we'd bet for information, oh, we've been called, oh, we must be behind, therefore we'll give up. That's how people used to use that information, whereas now, I think we can use information in a much smarter way. Oh, the guy's called, he's got a capped range, therefore we can think about either bluffing versus it or value betting versus it, depending on what our hand strength is. So yeah, it's kind of, we're betting for information to an extent, but we're not. I mean, we can clearly get folds on this board texture. If our opponent just has a hand like, I don't know, pocket deuces here, he's going to fold for these type of bet sizes, or he's going to fold to a turn barrel. If he has a hand like king queen, he might call once here and fold to a turn barrel. But even if he doesn't, even if he does stick around for two small bets with pocket deuces, pocket threes, king queen, we get to deal with that on the river by blasting a bet into him if we choose to, or we get to deal with that by getting value from it on the river by making our bets. So I think it's a fine strategy. I'm not sure I'm executing it fully properly yet. Certainly out of position. I'm using it out of position a little bit too much. I think we should still be. It doesn't work anywhere near as well out of position as it does in position, but I think it's a nice strategy, and for now it's been working really well against like the weaker players. I haven't used it as much against regulars, who I think might be better at adjusting to it, but against like weaker players it's been working really, really well. So yeah, we go for the really small c-bet, looking to barrel lots of good turns for us, that being like one of the better turns. He bets 40 pence. I think we should probably raise here, given that we picked up some like pot equity and fold equity on the jack. And he just folds, and again, it's a fine result. So we got the king 10 going on down here. There's a lot of action in this video, wasn't there, last night? So we got the king 10. Ark, who I didn't have notes on, but I was kind of getting the impression that he had a green tag. He was playing 4 tables. When I check later, but he's tagged green, so it must be tagged green for a reason. I must have seen him do something or seen him play a lot of pots, but he kind of felt like he was quite aggressive. The king 10 is obviously a standard call, and the flop's a standard call with that one pair type hand. No need to raise, certainly no reason to fold. He checks the turn again. We could bet here just to like deny equity to, or to charge flush draws, to charge any straight draws he might have, that type of thing. Just deny equity. So we could bet. I think against someone who's aggressive though, I'm happy to check back and play some rivers too. So I think that's fine. We do check back, and I think that's a pretty good river for us based on how he's played the hand so far. I don't expect someone who's aggressive in a bad way. I expect them to barrel that turn with an ace a lot. And usually quite big sizings because they're scared of like the flush draws that are out there and stuff. So I don't think he has an ace too often. I also don't think he has a flush draw too often either, because I expect this player is going to be pretty aggressive with his flush draws. So I don't really know what he's got. I'm going to expect he's maybe got some under pairs a reasonable amount of the time that's just stopped the flop and giving up. But if he does bet this river, I think we need to call, because And we've got a pretty good hand to bluff catching with. He checks again. And now it's a matter of, do we want to go for some thin value or do we want to check back? I think it's quite an interesting question, because again, I don't think he's got an ace, and I don't think he's got a flush draw very often. So I think therefore his hand looks like maybe pocket queens, pocket jacks, some middle pocket pairs, who knows what. But I think we can maybe get some value, and I genuinely don't remember what happened in this hand. Well, I think we can get away with betting like anything between like 80p to £1.40 here, and try and get some calls from like pairs lower than a king. Well, I don't know. Maybe I just check back. I wouldn't be surprised if I just wimp out. And I did, and he just had some random airball that couldn't call anyway. Now we have the 10-9 suited up on table 2. Christ, there was a lot of action in this video, wasn't there? We just called an open pre-flop, and then SR23's put a pretty chunky c-bet in on this board. He's bet like £2.10 into what was £2.70. So he's made a pretty chunky c-bet. I expect him to be quite strong here. I think if we get it all in, we're going to be getting it okay. We're going to get it in okay against overpairs. For sure. Getting it okay in against draws and things like that. But again, we don't need to. I don't want to be playing a style that's just like ramming and jamming and just like gambling. I'd rather just see a turn card and make a decision from the turn onwards. If the turn's an 8, if it's a jack, if it's a spade, if it's a king, if it's a queen, if it's an ace, we can make some good decisions on turns based on his action and his sizings and things. Yeah, of course we can just raise and get it in here and not care. But I sometimes think that's quite lazy, and I'd like to just see myself take a turn card off here and then proceed from there. If we call and team game decides to shove and then SR folds, we have a really easy decision. We just snap it off. Yeah, so I think calling here, use our position well, call. Because a lot of my other hands want to just call here too. Just 10x wants to just call, 9x wants to just call, pocket 8 wants to just call. So I'm fine with just calling with this hand too. Which we do, and then he checks his turn, I believe. And we can get away with just betting really small here, because at this point, it's just like pretty damn obvious to me that we just clearly have the best hand. He's either got a scared over pair, or he's just got 2 over cards that he's drawing dead with. Except Queen Jack, of course, is not, not drawing dead with, but like Queen Jack is an open end. I think he maybe barrels that still sometimes. King Queen's a good shot, but he's drawing thin. Most of the time, Ace Queen's drawing dead, Ace King's drawing dead, that type of thing. So I think we can just bet really small here. If he raises, we can just get it in, and I think he's going to have a lot of spew in his range. He might just flick a call in with, I don't know, King Queen or Ace Queen or something like that if we bet small enough. So I don't see me bet here. It's like 669 in the pot. Anything around like 180 to 240 I think will be absolutely fine. We actually go a little bit bigger, 270. Fine with that too. And we just take it down. So about 17 minutes, 18 minutes into my actual play time here, even though obviously the video's been going for longer. And we've already had way more action than we had in probably both of the Unibet videos, which is just testament to just the game quality on Sky. Well, not always, but sometimes. A bunch of the Sky regulars at the minute, they're not on board because they've been in Vegas and what have you. I expect the Sky games to get significantly worse very soon as the guys from Vegas get back. But I've had a really good couple of weeks of... I'm not sure exactly how much I've made, but I'm pretty sure I've made in not that many hands actually as well. Because I've made next to no money on the rate back, so I've probably only played a few thousand hands, but I think I've made something like £500 or £600. It's been a phenomenal couple of weeks because it's just most of the regulars haven't been around. The regulars that have been around has been like Will's been around, Poker King has been around. There's been some regulars around, but tons that just haven't been there, and they might not have been in Vegas. Who knows? They might have moved somewhere else. They might have started chasing rate back on Party Poker. Hopefully that's the case. I don't know for sure, but I just know the games have been really good on Sky lately, and I've been been making hay while the sun has been shining. So anyway, we have these pocket 7s versus Captain Cab. Again, it's a spot where we can just make a really small c-bet, just deny equity if he doesn't have anything. If he just had a hand like, I don't know, King 8 or, I don't know, like 8-7 or something like that, or Ace 10. Hands like that, just bet small, charge weak hands a premium, not a premium, but charge weak hands to stay in the pot, or just get them to fold their equity share. I'm fine with either. If he folds or calls with Ace 10 here, I don't really care which it is. We're getting value if he calls, we're denying equity if he folds. I'm happy with both of those outcomes. We actually check back, which I don't think I like. I think we should probably bet that flop, in line with my current strategy of betting small twice and deciding on rivers. However, we didn't, and now I think we definitely need to bet this turn. And we do. And he folds. On table 2, we have a pretty marginal hand. I don't even know it played out this way. I was about to say we should call with it, even though it's marginal. Versus the min raise and 2 fish, we should have called, but obviously once Arthur pops a 3-bet in, it's a super trivial fold. Flush draw on table 3. Let's just go ahead and bet and go from there. We take it down, which is obviously a fair result with just king high. And you could see there on table 1, we had king 5 on the button. For a lot of players, that's a completely standard open, and for me, it's a completely standard open. But given that we are doing the whole poker is boring thing, and given that man on top only had a 25 blind stack, I folded it. Tons of you guys will be tearing your hair out at this point, saying, "Oh, how can you fold that hand?" But please just try and remember the premise of the video. Flop a gut shot and 2 overs here against Garca, completely standard c-bet. Take it down, happy days. Call versus man on top, try and hit a flop with that king queen. We fail. Now we can think about betting possibly, or maybe we just think we have showdown value. And we check it down and win. So maybe man on top just never bluffs. Who knows? I think I checked the hand at this point. I can't remember what he had. But it's pretty obvious the guy just never bluffs if king high can win. And I think I tried to line up a check raise here versus Garca. We were the pre-flop raiser, so we could definitely see bet here and be absolutely fine. But I'm kind of happy just trying to get all the money in here too. If he checks back, he probably doesn't have much that can suck out on us. Because you know, if he has some kind of draw when we check, a lot of the time guys are going to bet the draws. So I'm happy potentially giving a free card here, because most of the hands that I'm giving a free card to that could suck out on me is going to bet a lot of the time, which allows me to get the raise in. So if I'm giving a free card here, I'm looking to get a check raise in though if possible. So we check, he bets really small, which is unfortunate, and now we just have to raise and go ahead with our plan. And Garca disappoints us by folding. And not a big fan of playing heads up, and playing heads up certainly isn't what we're trying to do in this video or this series. But if I'm heads up against somebody who I think I have a pretty big edge over, then obviously I'm going to play it. I just see it as free money. It's a matter of how much rake is going to be raked out of his stack before I finally win it all. That's the race there in that situation. Do I get my fair share before rake takes its chunk? Again, super small c-bet with the kings, no problem with that. The turn on the 7 turn, I think again we should bet. I don't remember my sizing here, but I think I'd like to see myself being somewhere in like the 80 pence region, I think. So we're going to kind of set up stacks to maybe should we bet 80 pence, he calls. It's going to be like 160 in the pot. That's going to be like, what, 370. And he's going to have maybe we need to go slightly bigger so we can shove the river. Maybe 80 pence was my initial thoughts. But given the stack to pot rate, given that his stack size, I think I preferred a pound or a £1.20 actually. But we went 80. Calls again, and then it's like a pretty terrible river for us. It was an 8 were crushed, it was a 5 were crushed, it was a 10 were crushed. There's lots of ways were crushed here. It's a really shit river, and I think betting at this point would just be lighting money on fire. We check. I believe he goes all in, and we just fold. I believe. A bit disappointing, and people will argue that if we'd made bigger bet sizes, he might not have got there with his straight and stuff. Fully on board with that. I understand the logic, but nevertheless, I would dispute it, and I would say still I think it's completely fine to use the sizes we used. The board isn't going to run out to a straight very often there. A lot of the time it's going to run out queen, turn, 2 river, and we're just going to be able to go bet shove and get value from whatever. So I have no issue with that. The fact the board ran out really bad for us shouldn't dissuade us from still sticking with the strategy. I think it's fine. As I talked about earlier, it's less good out of position. It's much less good. It works fantastically in position. I think I need to put a lot more thought into it out of position and maybe use the small bet sizes much more in position and play maybe more bigger sides out of position, and certainly to give it some thought, because at the moment I'm using it both in and out of position, and I think it works much less well out of position. So I certainly need to give that some thought, and I'll probably rectify that in the next day or two. Two queens on table 2. Again, small c-bet. It's a wet board, but I'm comfortable with making a small c-bet. Our opponent raises, which is never nice to get raised in this board. And this is whether, again, the small bet sizes, it kind of, is he raising because we bet small? Is he raising because he likes his hand? Is he raising because he's got a monster? Is he raising because he's got his draw? A draw, we don't know. But given that we have bet small, therefore his raise is small, we have like a really easy call here, in my opinion. It's super easy to like overplay our hand here and think, fuck it, let's just get another raise in and try and get all the money in before the board runs out of shit for us. But I'm not too concerned. If I call here and the turn's a 5, or it's a club, or it's a 3, or it's an 8, whatever, I'm just happy to just like, well, not happy to, but I'm comfortable just conceding the pot. We could be like 3 bet here, get it in and be okay. We probably could, but we're not going to get in really great. I mean, is somebody really just going to stack off here with pocket 8s or pocket 10s? I mean, they might, but I think a lot of the time when we end up getting it in here, we're going to be up against made straights, we're going to be up against sets, big draws, and pocket queens does okay against that range, just about, I guess. But for 3 bet getting it in here, I don't think it's as good as personally as calling and looking to play some turns and rivers, or be out of position. So I do call, we get a pretty safe turn. Check, let's check. Our opponent bets half pot. Again, I think we have a really easy call given that turn. And then like the ace river, not ideal, because if he does have a nut flush draw, then he's just got there. At this point, I was probably thinking about check folding. I certainly hope I'm thinking about check folding anyway. And we check it down, and we won. And I think I went ahead and checked what he had, and I think he had like a weak overpair. Yeah, 9-9. Flopped an absolute joint on table 4, getting no action, which is deeply distressing. But whatever. I'm trying not to pause this too much because I want to, if I can, try and get through this in maybe just 2 sessions. It's looking like it might have to end up being like a 3-session video, because what are we up to already in the video? We're already up to 44, so we've only got 15 minutes left on this episode. And yeah, so it's looking like it might end up being we might get 3 videos out of this. I was hoping for 2, but there's been so much action and so much pausing. Whatever, it's good. It's been good content, I hope. So if we get 3 videos out of it, then fair enough. Again, I'm not super happy playing short-handed on videos, especially when we're trying to play super tight and solid. But if we have 2 green tag players, we're just going to get on with it. These are just super profitable spots in general. Yeah. As you can see at this point, look at my tables, and this is it. Let's talk about Skype for just a moment. We have these guys here like SR23 who I know watches the videos. Maybe he's watching now, maybe he's not. I don't understand, so why. Yeah, I get it. You may be wanting to just focus on playing 30NL. But there's 3 empty seats here, and there's just some free money, and at Ouija as well. And there's empty seats here. I don't get when these guys are on, and they are playing like several tables. I don't understand how they can turn down these tables, and we are going off slightly off on a tangent here. But if you are like playing on Sky and you are a guy who's playing 4 tables or 6 tables or whatever, and not having stellar results, maybe this is why, because I see these guys, I don't understand why they're not filling these seats. I'm glad that they're not. Really glad, because it makes it much better for me. It gives me a much better shot at getting my hands on some easy-ish money from Ray and from Ark. But I just don't understand it. I really do not understand how there can be regulars in the lobbies playing games, sat at tables, but we can have like really good games here with like Clayton ends up being a green tag with like green tag players everywhere and empty seats. It makes utterly no sense. Yeah, I get it. Ouija might be like, oh, I'm not playing 20NL, but just play 20NL and get some free money. Whatever. I think it's a mistake. They really do. Anyways, we flop the ace king here, and we elect to check it over, which I think's probably okay. Just call a turn versus Ark, who make like a pretty big bet, and then he checks the river, and we need to go for some value here for sure. Excuse me. 551 in the pot. Hopefully he has an ace. What would I want to bet? I'd probably want to put it pretty big here, I think. This is a spot where I don't think he has a queen too often. He's checked the flop, he's led the turn, he's checked the river. I think a lot of the time here he has either nothing or he has like an ace jack, an ace 10, an ace 9, whatever. Just a worse ace. I think it's a really good spot to overbet here. And if he shoves on us, we just puke and fold. But I think it's a good spot to maybe go for like a £7, £8 bet, something like that. And it would really be sick if he did shove the river, because we'd be folding for 6 more. But what would we beat? With his ace X, he's just going to call. When he shoves the river, he just has a queen or a boat, always. But I think it's a good spot to go for an overbet. Whether I go for it or not, I don't know. But I think I'd like to see myself do it. And I like to go for the really tiny bet, which I know why I'm doing it again. I'm just trying to get some hero calls from whatever, from like pocket 4s or something. Like, who knows what the fuck I'm trying to get hero calls from. I understand why I've gone really, really small here, but I don't like it. I'd much prefer to see myself go with a super stonking great bet. But he just folds anyway, so he obviously wasn't going to call it over bet either. But yeah, I don't like that sizing. If we're going to have a strategy where I'm going to be going bet small, over bet, bluff a lot, I need to be putting some of those types of hands into that range too. So I do not like my bet size there. I like my bet just to bet small here. We pick up. We didn't pick up the good shot, but we had like a good shot on the turn. On the flop, checks through. Queen comes on the turn. Of course, he could have a queen, but I'm happy just to take a stab there. If we get called, we can try and bluff some rivers or just give up. But I think stabbing that turn there is completely fine. And get away with tons of these small stabs versus some pretty mediocre players. It's amazing what you can get away with. And so we've made 2 small stabs on table 3 with the king queen, which I think is pretty fine on that board. We can get peels from ace high on the flop that fold the turn. We can get peels from who knows what, just like 10-9, 9-8, all kinds of things that are just like 2 overcards or gut shots and shit. So I'm fine with just betting small twice for very thin value versus like his like suited connectors haven't made a hand yet, and just to deny equity to his ace X's. So I'm fine with betting twice. Then we hit the queen on the river, and again I think it's a fine spot to maybe think about going for an overbet, and just hope he like gets curious with 7x or what have you. So this is where it gives us good options on the river, and we can bluff for a large size here, sometimes hope he folds 7x, or we can value bet for a large size here, sometimes hoping that he calls with 7x. I think it's completely fine either way. What do I do? Again, I go for the small bet. I'm not fond. I need to be pulling the trigger more on the overbets with the thin value stuff. I'm not happy with this bet size. Again, I would prefer to see myself make a larger bet size, but we got the call. Possibly missed a little bit of value by using a small sizing. But given that we're like playing short-handed at a couple of tables, I'm not trying to make excuses for myself, but we do have like slightly less time to think, and my game definitely does regress slightly when I have less thinking time, for sure. As we all do, not just me. We all play worse when we have less thinking time, which is why I'm not a big fan of overloading myself with tons of tables. Not a huge fan of having to defend hands like 6-7 for a 3x, but versus someone who's a purple tag or pink tag, whatever colour you want to call that, cerise maybe, who knows. We can't just fold, we're going to be folding too much, and we flop what is effective with the nuts here against this guy. Of course it's not the nuts, but super happy with the situation. Go for a check. And I'm presuming he's going for a check raise there. We don't get the opportunity to do it. I wouldn't mind seeing myself check again here a second time. I think leading is going to be fine too, because obviously we've now picked up the extra equity. If we are in trouble, then we have the equity. I doubt very much we're in trouble. I still think we've got the nuts here. I'm happy with either leading out for a full-size pot bet, but I'm equally happy going for another check raise. I think either's going to be fine. We actually went with a really small bet, which, yeah, again, not a huge fan of this sizing. I think out of position, the small bets thing works way better. We're just missing value here by not doing this. Yeah, maybe we induce some raises from some spewy players occasionally. But yeah, I think we're definitely looking back now at what I'm doing. I think this small betting out of position, I certainly need to like reassess what I'm doing out of position. I think in position, which is something we can use a lot, out of position, I need to go back and have a big rethink on what I'm doing, because it's the 3rd or 4th time now in this video I've not liked us making a small bet out of position. We get the call and we go to the river, and then we end up going for an overbet, which I think is fine, but I don't expect it to work too often in terms of like getting called by too many worse hands. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not super happy with how I played that hand again. Definitely going to look at, for the next couple of these videos, I'm going to be seeing these bet sizes still, but for the next session I play where I record it, hopefully we'll have slightly adjusted the small bet out of position strategy, and maybe we're going to start checking more and betting bigger. That feels like the adjustment we're going to make. I'm going to bet with a lower frequency but use larger sizes. That feels like how I'm going to do it. Anyways, we've checked our top pair, top kicker here, hoping to get a check raise in versus Ark. Raise kind of spoiling the party by min betting, but we'll see what happens. Ark raises, and we of course we could raise here again, but I don't think we're going to be able to get it in very profitably. So if we do raise here, we're kind of raising, hoping for what exactly? Hoping he calls and we get brick turns, hoping he folds. I don't know. So at this point, it feels like I should call. I don't know what I did, but it feels like I should call at this point and play some turns and rivers. Really good turn card, really safe. Ark checks back, and then this river, if it was a brick river, if this river was like the 6 of hearts or something, or the 3 of hearts, it would be a super clear bet. I still think we can maybe bet here to try and rep some miss flushes, try and get a call from like an ace 9 or a who knows what, a king jack, or who knows, pocket 10s maybe. So I think we can certainly bet here. I'm happy with either check calling against somebody who I think might be aggressive, who might have one last stab at the pot, given we've kind of like played the hand pretty passively. So I'm happy with the check call. I'm equally happy with the bet, and that isn't a cop out, but I think either are fine. And he just instantly checked back. And we won. Again, going for the small bet on table 4 in a multi-way pot. We just bet 40 pence on 7-7 jack ace and we get it through. Shows the power of position, shows the power of small bets versus capped ranges, etc. What are we up to now in time wise? I'm recording in a different room today because we have guests downstairs. Yeah, we're nearly done with the video. 56 minutes, close enough. Yeah, there's no hands going on, so I think we'll wrap it up here. While we haven't got anything going on, it's going to take more time. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video from a different perspective this time. We're still playing some pretty tight, boring, solid poker, but because we're playing against a bunch of weaker players, we get to have more fun post-flop. We didn't have much fun post-flop in the 2 Unibet videos because there wasn't much post-flop going on. It was boring. We were raising, people were folding, or we were whatever, we were calling, and they were continuing with the aggression against us, and there's not much we could do about it. In fishier games against worse players who have wider ranges to the cap, it works really well. You know, we get to get value when we want it, we get to get folds when we want it, and it's just you know, it's just, you don't need to be playing super loose in these games. And hopefully over this video and then future videos, we're going to demonstrate that even though we're playing really tight, we can still get value with hands we want to get value with. We can still look to make some moves post-flop and bluff sometimes. We're not playing like super tight pre-flop and post-flop. We're just basically trying to build a solid game on top of really solid foundations by not having really wide ranges post-flop that just get us into trouble too often. When we played that video, we've watched like 39 minutes of play at super fishy tables, and we've just sailed through it. We've sailed through the session so far. We haven't been put under any pressure. We've managed to increase our stacks at most of our tables without ever really being in any kind of jeopardy and danger. And that's just how I like my poker to be. Just a really nice, calm, smooth sailing session whenever possible, based on playing quite tight poker. This isn't too far away from how I just play normally. I'm a very tight regular. Yeah, I play a little bit looser, but not much looser. And I have no trouble making plenty of money in the games that I choose to play. So yeah, I hope you guys are getting plenty from this series. They're getting plenty of likes, they're getting plenty of comments, they're getting good views. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Hopefully you enjoyed this slightly different video based on the same premise. And as always, leave your comments, leave your thumbs up, share, like, subscribe, all those things. Just get involved, and we'll see you again probably tomorrow with the second part of this video. Bye bye for now.